Hello and welcome back to the Football Chat, where today we're going to be taking a look at the 10 greatest underdog stories in Champions League history. Just as a quick note, this only includes teams from the Champions League era, so historic achievements from bygone eras of the likes of Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, Red Star Belgrade and Steaua Bucharest won't feature in this list. If you do go on to enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe and comment your thoughts down below. Ajax, 1994 to 95. In 1994-95, Ajax Amsterdam made history by winning the UEFA Champions League for the first time in 22 years. Here is how they did it. In the quarter-finals, Ajax faced Bayern Munich, who were the defending champions at the time, but Ajax were unstoppable, winning the first leg 5-2 at home. In the second leg, Ajax held Bayern Munich to a goalless draw in Germany, securing their place in the semi-finals. In the final, Ajax faced AC Milan, who were overwhelming favourites to win, but Ajax had other ideas. In a tight and tense game, the only goal of the match came from a Patrick Kluivert header in the 85th minute, giving Ajax a 1-0 victory and the Champions League trophy. But it wasn't just Kluivert who was the hero for Ajax. Goalkeeper Edwin van der Sar was instrumental in the final, making a number of crucial saves to keep Milan at bay. Credit also has to go to Ajax manager Louis van Gaal, who set his team up perfectly to nullify Milan's attacking threat and exploit their weaknesses. This Ajax team was a young one, full of talent and potential. They may not have gone on to win multiple Champions League titles, but their triumph in 1994-95 will forever be remembered as a historic moment in the club's history. So that's how Ajax Amsterdam won the UEFA Champions League in 1994-95. What are your memories of that unforgettable campaign? Let us know in the comments below. Chelsea, 2011 to 2012. The trials and tribulations for Chelsea in the 2011-12 season were extensive and made this achievement all the more incredible. At the start of the season, Andre Villarreal came in as the new Blues manager. His arrival coincided with the additions of Juan Mata and Thibaut Courtois, who was loaned out for this campaign. Chelsea's start of the season wasn't perfect, but they still topped the group with Bayer Leverkusen, Genk and Valencia, setting up a round of 16 clash with Napoli. In the first leg of this tie, Chelsea lost 3-1 away, and most people thought the tie was over. Andre Villarreal was sacked soon after, and Roberto Di Matteo came in his place for the rest of the season. This tie was certainly not over yet though. Goals from Drogba and Terry put them 2-0 up just after half-time, levelling the tie on aggregate, which would have seen Chelsea progress on away goals. Inla scored for Napoli, but a Frank Lampard penalty cancelled out that strike and the tie headed for extra time. It took a late Branislav Ivanovic goal to complete the comeback and Chelsea progressed into the quarter-finals. Here they met Benfica, who they dispatched off comfortably 3-1. This set up a very difficult semi-final with Barcelona. They edged the first leg thanks to a Didier Drogba goal, but they quickly lost this advantage in the second leg, with Busquets and Iniesta scoring twice in the first half. Ramirez scored in the 46th minute and they went into the break level at 2-2. The second half was tight and it took a late Fernando Torres winner to take Chelsea to their second ever Champions League final. The odds though were definitely still against them as they matched up against the dominant German powerhouse Bayern Munich. Bayern controlled the match with Robben having the best chance, forcing Cech into a brilliant save with his legs. Chelsea, however, also had chances, with Solomon Kalou nearly finishing at the near post. Bayern kept pushing Chelsea to the limit, with Mario Gomez and Arjen Robben both missing glaring opportunities. Bayern did eventually take the lead in the 83rd minute when Toni Kroos assisted Thomas Müller, who headed the ball down to the ground, causing it to bounce over Cech and in off the crossbar. Bayern threw on defenders and sent everyone back to try and protect their win. However, on 88 minutes, Chelsea won their first corner kick of the match, and when Juan Mata swung it in, Drogba got to it first and powered a header past Manuel Neuer at the near post for the equaliser, sending the match into extra time. Mario Gomez missed another big chance as Bayern kept knocking. Later, Drogba fouled Franck Ribéry in the penalty area, injuring the Frenchman and earning Bayern a penalty. Robben took it, but his shot was saved by Petr Cech. With no goal to separate the sides, the match headed to penalties. It was the dependable Philipp Lahm who went first and scored to Cech's left. Cech did get a fingertip to the ball but was unable to keep it out. Mata took Chelsea's first penalty and his weak shot was saved by Manuel Neuer. Next was Gomez, who missed so many shots during the 90, but he drilled his effort into the bottom right corner. David Luiz took Chelsea's second penalty and scored with a powerful shot into the top corner. Neuer took Bayern's third penalty and Cech couldn't deny him this time. Lampard was next and he hit a shot straight down the middle into the back of the net. Olic was next, but Cech managed to level up the scores when he saved the penalty, and then Cole went on to slot his kick into the bottom right corner. Bastian Schweinsteiger was Bayern's fifth penalty taker, but Cech tipped his effort onto the post to leave Chelsea one kick away from European glory. Drogba sent Neuer the wrong way and put his kick into the bottom left corner, and Chelsea were European champions. The victory marked not only Chelsea's first ever European Cup, but also the first time a London team had won the competition. And they denied a brilliant Bayern team Europe's most prestigious crown for another year at least. Dortmund, 1996 to 97. After winning the Bundesliga in 1995-96, you'd expect Dortmund to enter the following Champions League as contenders, and to a certain extent they did. They got through a group consisting of Atletico Madrid, Vidzu Lodz, apologies for any pronunciations there, and Steaua Bucuresti with relative ease. They ended up second in the group, and this set up a quarter-final with Ligue 1 leaders Auxerre. Auxerre would go on to win the French division that season, but they wouldn't progress in the Champions League as Dortmund crushed them 4-1 on aggregate. This saw them proceed into the semi-finals, where they met Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, and they recorded a 2-0 victory over them as well. This saw them go through to the final, the only final in their history to this point, and they wouldn't reach another one until 2013. The Olympiastadion in Munich was set for a magnificent final between Dortmund and the reigning champions Juventus. Karl-Heinz Riedler put Dortmund ahead, finishing from inside the 6-yard box after Paul Lambert's cross. Riedler then made it 2 with a header from a corner kick from the right. In the second half, Juventus forward Alessandro Del Piero, who had come on as a substitute, scored via a back heel to make the score 2-1. The game was then settled by 20-year-old substitute and Dortmund local boy Lars Ricken as he latched onto a through pass by Andreas Mola only 16 seconds after coming onto the pitch. Ricken chipped Angelo Peruzzi in a Juve goal from over 20 yards with his first touch of the ball to make it 3-1 for Dortmund. Ricken's goal was the fastest ever by a substitute in a Champions League final. With Zidane unable to make an impression for Juve after the close marking of Lambert, the 3-1 victory gave Dortmund their only Champions League title to date. Porto, 2003 to 2004. The first role of the charismatic coach Jose Mourinho was with Porto, and in just his second year they pulled off this magnificent feat. FC Porto became the 12th club to win multiple European Cup titles in a fairy tale 03-04 season. For the first time since '95, a club outside the Big Four leagues won the trophy. FC Porto came into the 03-04 season with high hopes following a Premier League title and UEFA Cup double in the previous season. The UEFA Cup is what we now refer to as the Europa League. They were certainly never considered for the Champions League though. In the group stage, Porto were drawn against Real Madrid, Marseille and Partizan. This was quite a difficult group, but they progressed with relative ease and lost to Real Madrid as the only blemish on their otherwise perfect record. This set up a tie with reigning Premier League champions Manchester United in the round of 16, a club that Jose Mourinho would become synonymous with over the course of his further career. Most presumed this tie was over before it even began. Just a quick glance over the names of the Manchester United squad would show you who the favourites were. However, this did not deter Jose Mourinho's Porto. United opened the scoring through Quinton Fortune in the 14th minute. From here though, Porto dominated. A brace from Benedict Saul McCarthy saw them flip the tie on its head and they won the first leg 2-1. Then they headed to Old Trafford where a first half Paul Scholes goal levelled the tie. Porto won the tie though with a last minute winner from Castilla. This teed up a quarter-final with Olympique Lyonnais, where FC Porto ran out 4-2 winners. Porto demonstrated their home prowess with a 2-0 win in the first leg thanks to goals from Deco and Ricardo Carvalho. This saw them progress into the semi-finals, where they faced another underdog in Deportivo La Coruña. We might be getting onto them later. They just about edged this tie 1-0 thanks to a Derlei penalty in the 60th minute of the second leg, and the dream was almost complete. Porto were in the final of the Champions League. Jose Mourinho was in the final of the Champions League. FC Porto went into the game as favourites following their impressive run to the final, but AS Monaco wouldn't go down without a fight. Porto executed their game plan perfectly though and romped to a 3-0 victory, with goals from Carlos Alberto, Deco and Alinichev. Porto had done it, champions of Europe. Dino OKeefe, 1998 to 99. In the 98-99 season, Dino OKeefe embarked on a remarkable run in the UEFA Champions League, defying the odds to reach the semi-finals. Here is how they did it. Dino OKeefe kicked off their campaign with a hard-fought 2-1 win at home to RC Lens. Andrei Shevchenko scored both goals for the home side. In their second group game, Kiev travelled to Highbury to face Arsenal. They put in a solid performance, earning a valuable point thanks to a goal from Hennady Litvichenko. Again, apologies for pronunciations. In the third group game, Kiev travelled to Greece to face Panathinaikos. They produced a dominant performance, winning 3-1 with goals from Andrei Huzin, Serhii Rebrov and Shevchenko. Kiev then were able to progress through the group stage and into the quarterfinals they went, where they would have to face Real Madrid. They won 3-1 at home with goals from Shevchenko, Rebrov and Huzin again. In the second leg in Madrid, Dino OKeefe produced a solid defensive performance, keeping a clean sheet and winning the game 1-0 thanks to a second half goal from Shevchenko. In the semi-finals, Kiev faced Munich, the reigning champions. In the first leg in Kiev, they drew 1-1, with a goal from Rebrov cancelling out the Karsten Janka opener. In the second leg in Munich, though, Kiev put up a brave fight but ultimately fell short. Despite goals from Shevchenko and Kozlovsky, they lost the game 3-2 and were eliminated from the competition. So that is how Dino OKeefe made a stunning run to the Champions League semi-finals in 98-99, beating some of the biggest names in European football along the way. What are your memories of this unforgettable campaign? Let us know in the comments below. Ajax 2018 to 2019. In the 18-19 season, Ajax made a sensational run to the Champions League semi-finals, capturing the hearts of football fans around the world. Here is how they did it. Ajax kicked off their campaign with a comfortable 2-0 victory away at AEK Athens. Goals from Tagliafico and Donny van der Beek set the tone for what was to come. In the reverse fixture, Ajax were even more dominant, winning 3-0 at home. Tadic, Tagliafico and Neres got the goals as Ajax showed their attacking prowess. Into the round of 16 where Ajax would face champions Real Madrid. It's a very tough match and Ajax would come away content, only losing 2-1. In the second leg, Ajax faced a daunting task. They had to overturn a 2-goal deficit against one of the best teams in the world. But Ajax were up for the challenge and they produced another breathtaking performance, winning 4-1 at home and knocking Real Madrid out of the competition. Into the quarterfinals then, where Ajax would face Juve, who had Cristiano Ronaldo in their ranks. In the first leg in Amsterdam, Ajax dominated the game but had to settle for a 1-1 draw. In the second leg in Turin, Ajax faced another daunting task. They had to beat Juventus on their home turf to progress to the semi-finals. But Ajax were not fazed. They produced another brilliant performance, winning 2-1 thanks to goals from Van der Beek and De Ligt. In the semi-finals, Ajax faced Tottenham Hotspur. In the first leg in London, Ajax produced a solid performance, winning 1-0 thanks to a Donny van der Beek goal. In the second leg in Amsterdam, Ajax were on the verge of reaching their first Champions League final in 23 years. They were leading 3-0 on aggregate at half-time, but Tottenham produced an incredible comeback, scoring 3 goals in the second half to knock Ajax out of the competition. So that's how Ajax Amsterdam made a stunning run to the Champions League semi-finals in 2018-19. What are your memories of this unforgettable campaign? Let us know in the comments below. Liverpool 2004 to 2005. In the 04-05 season, Liverpool Football Club achieved one of the greatest comebacks in football history, winning the Champions League in dramatic fashion. Here is how they did it. Liverpool's journey began in the group stage, where they were drawn against Olympiacos, Deportivo La Coruña and AS Monaco. In their final group game, Liverpool had to win by 2 clear goals to qualify for the knockout stages. They produced a memorable comeback, winning the game 3-1 with a late goal from Steven Gerrard sending the Anfield crowd into raptures. In the round of 16, Liverpool faced Bayer Leverkusen. They won the first leg 3-1 at the Bay Arena with goals from Luis Garcia, John Arisa and Milan Barros. This was more than enough for them to see out the second leg and go through to the quarter-finals, where they would face Italian giants Juventus. In the first leg at Anfield, they produced a dominant performance, winning the game 2-1 with goals from Hyypiä and Garcia's controversial ghost goal. In the second leg in Turin, Liverpool produced a solid defensive performance, holding Juventus to a goalless draw and advancing to the semi-finals. In the semi-finals, Liverpool faced Premier League rivals Chelsea. In the first leg at Stamford Bridge, they produced a disciplined defensive display, holding Chelsea to a goalless draw. In the second leg at Anfield, they won the game 1-0 with a stunning goal from Garcia. And so, Liverpool reached the Champions League final, where they faced Italian giants AC Milan at the Ataturk Olympic Stadium in Istanbul. Milan, with a team featuring some of the biggest names in world football, were the heavy favourites. Liverpool, on the other hand, were the massive underdogs. What followed was one of the most forgettable nights in football history, which would go on to be named the Miracle of Istanbul. Milan started the game brilliantly, taking a 3-0 lead in the first half with goals from Paolo Maldini, Hernan Crespo and a stunning volley from Kaká. Liverpool, who had barely gotten a touch of the ball, looked dead and buried at half-time. But in the second half, Liverpool produced one of the greatest comebacks in football history. Goals from Gerrard, Vladimir Smicer and Xabi Alonso brought the scores level at 3 apiece, and Liverpool held on to take the game to extra time. In extra time, Liverpool goalkeeper Jerzy Dudek produced a remarkable double save to deny Andrei Shevchenko, keeping the scores level and taking the game to penalties. And so to penalties we went. With the scores level at 2-2, Dudek produced another remarkable save to deny Shevchenko, and Liverpool won the shootout 3-2, with a decisive penalty coming from Garcia. It was a moment of pure ecstasy for the Liverpool fans, players and staff, a night that will be remembered forever in football history. That's how Liverpool pulled off an unforgettable Champions League campaign in 2004-05, a true underdog story and a testament to the power of never giving up. Villarreal 2021-22. Villarreal's Champions League campaign in 2021-22 was one to remember. The Spanish club, managed by Unai Emery, made it to the semi-finals of the competition, overcoming some tough challenges along the way. In the group stages, they found themselves drawn alongside Atalanta, Manchester United and Young Boys. It was a tough group, but they managed to finish second with 11 points, just behind Manchester United. This pit them up against Italian giants Juventus. The first leg ended 1-1, with Dani Parejo scoring for Villarreal. They progressed into the quarters, winning the second leg 3-0 thanks to goals from Gerard Moreno, Pau Torres and Arnau Danjuma. Their opponents in the quarterfinals were Bayern Munich, who were considered to be one of the favourites to win the competition. The first leg ended in a 1-0 win for Villarreal at the Estadio de la Ceramisa, with Danjuma scoring the decisive goal. In the second leg, Bayern took the lead through Robert Lewandowski, but an 88th minute winner from Samuel Chukwueze saw them progress to the semis, winning 2-1 on aggregate. In the semi-finals, Villarreal were drawn against Liverpool. It was a tough challenge and unfortunately too big a challenge for Villarreal to overcome. They lost the first leg 2-0 at Anfield, and despite a spirited effort in the second leg, they lost 3-2 with Francis Coquelin getting sent off. They lost the tie 5-2 on aggregate. Despite their elimination from the competition, Villarreal can be very proud of their Champions League campaign in 2021-22. They proved themselves to be a tough side to beat and overcame some tough challenges along the way. With the likes of Gerard Moreno and Pau Torres in their squad, they'll be hoping to make another run in the competition in the near future. Marseille, 1992-93. In 1992, the European Cup rebranded to the Champions League, and the first win of the new competition was very surprising. Marseille qualified for the Champions League with their fourth consecutive Division 1 title, and they went into the format with optimism that they could challenge. The format in 92-93 was rather simplified compared to today's 32-team system. Marseille pipped Rangers to the top of Group A and went through to the final, where they would face AC Milan. I don't know why Milan features so frequently in this list on the losing side. I guess they were just so good that it was surprising they lost these games. The Olympiastadion played host to an event where Marseille ran out 1-0 winners thanks to a 43rd minute header from Basile Boli. It wasn't too surprising that a team featuring the likes of Rudi Vola, Abedi Pele, Marcel Desailly, Alain Boksic, Fabien Barthez and Didier Deschamps were capable of winning the Champions League, but the fact they defeated this magnificent AC Milan side was amazing. This Milan side features the likes of Jean-Pierre Papin, Paolo Maldini, Marco van Basten, Franco Baresi and Frank Rijkaard. It really was a magnificent achievement for Marseille. Deportivo La Coruña, 2003-2004. There must have been something in the water in 2003, since in the same year Jose Mourinho took Porto to European glory, Javier Irureta guided his Deportivo side into the Champions League semi-finals. Considering the small Spanish outfit didn't even make it out of the groups in the campaign before, this achievement was simply unfathomable. Los Blanquiales entered the third qualifying round following a third place finish in La Liga, and after just edging Rosenborg over 2 eggs, they were drawn in a group with PSV Eindhoven, AEK Athens and eventual finalist Monaco. Deportivo won all of their home games, finishing second in the group and passing through on goals scored in a head-to-head tie. After a tricky group stage, Deportivo were drawn against 2003 finalists Juventus. They beat them by a 1-0 margin in both legs. Albert Luque and Walter Pandiani grabbed the crucial goals. Then came the miracle quarter-final. Drawn against reigning European champions AC Milan, the odds were always against Deportivo, and when Kaká, Shevchenko and Pirlo inspired Milan to a 4-1 first leg victory, most presumed the tie was over. However, Deportivo had no intentions of allowing AC Milan an easy pass into the semi-finals. When they invited the Italian giants to the Estadio Riazor, Pandiani and Luque were amongst the goals again, as they recorded a historic 4-0 victory. It was truly magnificent. The fairy tale would eventually come to an end as they lost to the previously mentioned eventual winners Porto. Regardless of this, it was still a magnificent achievement for Deportivo to reach the semi-finals of the Champions League. That is all for today's video. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button to support our content. This is something new today, so please do leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, put them in there as well. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.